Okay, so I mean, fundamentally, if you look at the markets for the past week or so, I mean, what has been hogging the headlines? Are you guys aware of what's hogging the headlines? The yen, isn't it? If you look at a lot of the yen pairs, you can see multiple yen pairs falling off the cliff, especially dollar yen. I mean, so you got the Fed, which is pretty much dovish. You got the yen, which is really strengthening. And yes, let's be nice. You got Brexit. So, I mean, Brexit is taking a bit of a backseat now because of James, because of the Prime Minister's. You guys heard about the Panama Papers, right? So Britain's Prime Minister was in it, so he's addressing that. So Brexit is taking a bit of a backseat at the moment. But the yen is really really strong, and the Fed is really dovish. So those are the two main things. Oil is slowly recovering as well. I'm quite surprised of this week's bounce up. Actually, I was hoping for it to drop to maybe back to $35 or so, but it is where it is. But let me just quickly go through the disclaimer first. Then we can just start the proper webinar. Okay, so please note that this presentation is purely for education purposes. The information in this presentation does not take into account specific investment objectives, financial situation, or particular needs of any particular person. Alright, so moving along, for those who are new to the webinar, what I do is that I use a lot of price action, okay, in terms of higher highs, higher lows, lower lows, and consolidation patterns. And the whole point of the webinar is to give you a bit of a understanding of what the market is doing, whether it's trending or consolidating, where I think it might go in the next 1-2 weeks or so, and basically show you what's trending out there. My way of trading is that I always look for trending markets, so I can look at commodities or FX or indices, and I only want to trade the market that gives me the highest probability of winning, which means that if I see a chart that's trending very strongly, for example, pound yen or dollar yen now, I will more often than not, I will look for such trends to trade. Okay, if the trend is sideways and really no direction and I can't make out anything, then I will not trade it. So I will scan all kinds of markets just to look for the best setup to trade. I mean, some clients, some traders just focus on a few pairs, which is totally fine. But it depends. I mean, if you just trade one pair, for example, you need to be very patient, especially because not every day can be an opportunity, isn't it? So the idea is not to force a trade, but to let the trade come to you. Okay, to let the trade come to you, to plan it, and then try to have a good risk to reward and take the trade. Okay, so price action is quite key. I won't cover much theory because we don't have time for that, but I strongly encourage you to read up on price action. They have a lot of resources online, on books. Based on my experience, I've been in the industry for about 8, 9, almost a decade, and I noticed a lot of successful traders use price action. Yep. Okay, so let's moving on to the markets. Let's start with indices as usual. Okay, so this is the Dow Jones or the Wall Street. Now you notice that most of the indices are looking quite similar, especially the Dow Jones and especially the US indices. We had this big drop early in the beginning of the year, especially the China circuit breakers going haywire with the devaluation of the yen, with oil price dropping like a rock and causing a lot of volatility. So a lot of the indices dropped quite aggressively at the beginning of the year, and then it recovered. The strength of recovery caught me by surprise, but like I say, it is what it is. In terms of the chart wise, it looks a bit more consolidating. I mean, I did drew this. Let me just delete some of the lines here. Okay, for the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, I would say long-term wise, when I say long-term, that means in the next 1-2 months, unless we break a significant high like 18,000 for Dow Jones, then maybe we have a start of a new trend. Okay, if not, I would say most of the trading are kept intraday or shorter to medium-term time frames, and you're just trading within this whole big weekly chart. We call it a wedge. Okay, right now the key level, we are close to the resistance around 18,000. So if you're going to buy from here, just be a bit mindful of what's up ahead. Okay, but just take note of this big consolidation here. Okay, interestingly enough, you look at the MACD, right? This is a weekly chart, by the way. If you look at the MACD, you can see that it made a higher high, okay, but price made a lower high. So this might be a start of a hidden bearish divergence, which means that from here we might make a drop, possibly back to 17,000, which is not surprising considering that this is quite strong resistance, which we are not, which we did not, we were not able to break since the last quarter of 2015. So this level is where we are right now. Okay, so if you're a long-term trader, if you're a swing trader, then this is probably not the best place to buy. Okay, you want to let it break the resistance first. Okay, so that's a weekly chart for you. Looking at the daily chart, okay, you can see the daily chart is bullish. Okay, it's making a nice push up. Now the key support that you want to look out for on the daily chart is anywhere around the 17,500 area. Okay, this level here. If we break this level, high chance that we're going back to 17,000, back to the next level support. If not, when we are here, the market will try to make a push higher and higher and higher. But as every day passes without breaking that resistance area next to 17,008, right, it shows that the bullish momentum is waning. If you study the past few daily candles, you can see there are quite a number of bearish pink candles, meaning that, you know, the bulls try to push it up, but you couldn't even make a candle close above the previous candle, and it pushed, and the bears push it back down, causing a long shadow. Yeah, so you can see that there's a bit of hesitation here. The market does not know what it wants to do. I think 2 webinars ago I covered how to take intraday trades with regards to indices, right, at the market open. So if you want to listen to that, that was 2 webinars ago, and what I do is that if you want to take short-term trades, right, especially during the market open, so for example, if you are looking at the DAX, for example, the DAX is the German index, you should be sitting in front of a computer about 4 p.m. Singapore time. That's where the UK market opens and liquidity comes in. And basically you want to look for key support and resistance. So for example, this is Dow Jones, and when the US opens tonight, if the market opens anywhere near 70,005, I want to see how you act to it. Okay, because if the market is open and support, more often than not, it will move up from there. I'm not talking about a swing trade. I'm talking more of intraday, almost like scalping, probably like you keep it for half an hour to 1 hour max and then see what happens. So this is the kind of scenario. You can use a daily chart as reference point. So if you see the market opening at 17,005, all right, you can try to look for entries to try to take it up, and then from there look for resistance to get up, just for intraday kind of trade. Okay, I covered it more in detail the 2 webinars ago. So if you want, just watch the recording on the website. Okay, so the Dow Jones daily is bullish, weekly is consolidating. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. Okay, but if you notice that the lower the time frame we go, the more consolidating the chart looks. All right, so it's quite clear on the 4-hour chart. You can see that this is a whole bunch of resistance here, and this is support here. Okay, nothing much to do, really nothing much to trade here, unless you like to scalp as support resistance. Not my cup of tea, but really not much direction. Okay, so just be mindful of the levels on the Dow Jones. Let's go to the S&P. Oh, Bima, right? Well, your question is what are the numbers for the EMA? The EMA is very simple. It's just 10 and 20. Okay, so the red one is 50. This one is 20. The blue is 20. The red is 50. All right. Yeah, I mean, for me, everybody got their own preference. I'm just comfortable with 10, 20, 50, 100. I mean, for this webinar, I remove some of the EMAs. I don't make the chart look so cluttered, but not the most important thing in the world. It's just to give you a rough gauge of what the market is doing. Okay, so don't be so try not to be too fixated on the EMAs. I rather price action to me is more important. Okay, so if you look at the S&P 500, it looks exactly like Dow Jones, isn't it? Market push up from that low in January, February, and then all the way up, and we are close to this resistance trend line. Okay, so I'll be very keen to see what happens here. Again, it looks like a long-term consolidation, and if you see the MACD, again, it looks exactly like the Dow Jones. It's making a higher high, but on the price making a lower high. So again, this is called a hidden bearish divergence, which means that the bears might take over from here. Not yet, but possible. Okay, if we take a look at the daily chart, you can see that the support is around the 20. Let me see what level is this. Yeah, I say about the 2030 level. This is a short-term. This is a support that the bulls are trying to push it up from there. And similarly to the Dow Jones, see all the daily candles doesn't want to seem to break higher for the past few weeks. Okay, but if it breaks higher, if it breaks the previous high of 2070 or so, very possible we are going to the next level of resistance at 2100. Okay, so it still looks bullish. The daily is still bullish. Okay, It's just that right now is consolidating a bit, but if it breaks the previous high, high chance we go to 2100. Okay. Divya, yes, I'll be covering FX after indices. You want to cover Nasdaq as well? Sure, sure. I'll talk about Nasdaq after this. Okay. All right, so that's the daily chart for you. Very similar to the Dow Jones. If you look at the 4-hour charts. Okay, so let me just delete some of the lines. So if you look at the Dow Jones, sorry, if you look at the S&P 4-hour chart, all right, similar to Dow Jones, you have your support and resistance levels. Just draw it in here. Okay, you can see there's consolidating in a wedge for this case. So once again, I mean, a lot of the indices are doing what it's doing, is consolidating just a bit. I would suggest trading more on the short-term charts, maybe the 15-minute, 1 hour, 4-hour chart. If you're looking for a swing setup, you might want to be a bit more patient. Okay, a bit more patient. Okay, so that's the S&P for you. Let's go to Nasdaq based on the request of Divya. Okay, I've not really studied. Let's see. Let me take a quick look at the Nasdaq now. So the Nasdaq, I mean, okay, what do you think it's a consolidation? It seems a bit like a consolidation, isn't it? Okay, you can draw the resistance line here, and you can see that it's made a lower high after hitting the resistance. Convergence of the MACD, no divergence there. Okay, so similar, looks quite similar to the Nasdaq or the Dow Jones. What I'm looking out for is how strong this resistance is. Let me draw this resistance line here. This level here, around 4550, 4500 or so. This is resistance on the weekly chart. Okay, so what you want to see is if this resistance is strong, there are two levels of resistance, trend line and visual horizontal resistance. So if this level is respected, right, highly likely we might move down to the next level of support at around the 4350 area. Alright, so that's one trade plan if you want to look up for it. Okay, so weekly is still consolidating. Now let's take a look at the daily chart. Okay, daily chart is still bullish. Okay, you see a daily chart? Forming a series of high lows, high highs, high high, high low, high high, high low, high high, high low, high high, and now it's forming support. Immediate support is around the 4440 area. Okay, but high chance if it breaks, right, then we might go to the next level of weekly support, which I mentioned, around the 4350 area. We go back to the daily chart. Yep, this level here. So what you want to pay attention is the 4450 area. If it breaks, I think there's an intraday trade to take back to the next level support around the 4350. Again, the daily and weekly chart will not give you enough insights on how to plan the trade. Therefore, you need to move to a 4-hour chart at least and try to plan it. Okay, so you can see some form of support trend line happening here. Where's that target area, the 4350 here. Okay, so it's supported. Now, if this level of support breaks, high probability that we might come back to this support level here. Okay, so it's more of a short-term kind of intraday setup. Yep, that's the Nasdaq for you. Okay, so if you're looking for swing or position trades, be patient, but intraday there might be some setups, opportunities coming up. Chong, right? Ho Hee Chong, sorry. FX I'll cover after indices, okay? Just give me about another 10 minutes or so. Okay, so that's Nasdaq for you. Let's move on to other regions. Let's go to DAX. Okay, so this is the DAX weekly chart. Okay, I drew this for a client, I believe. Lower high, low high. So the DAX to me is still in the downtrend. Okay, key level that it could not break was 10,000. So I'm not surprised that the 10,000, the price came down from the 10,000 level. And now we are at that area close to the 9400 support, whereby the market would decide whether it wants to start moving up to the top of this channel here, or whether we will drift slowly back to the bottom of the channel here. Okay, there's not much direction. It's not my cup. I don't really like to trade in between the consolidation pattern, but this is the analysis so far. Okay, on the weekly chart, it's consolidating in the big channel. Okay, so what you want to look out for is if you go to the daily chart. Okay, so you can see DAX is pretty much sideways, not much direction. Daily was on the uptrend, and now it's broke a new low, so it might be a start to a downtrend, or it might be consolidating. So daily is not telling much. So for me, I think weekly chart should be the reference point, and this 9400 level somewhere here is quite key to me, because if it breaks below, high chance that we might go to the bottom of the channel. Okay, so 940 and 10,000, these two levels are quite interesting levels. These are two key areas for me to determine what might happen for the next few weeks or so. Okay, I'm going to be a bit more patient with the DAX and let it play itself out first. Okay, daily chart, because daily chart is not giving you anything. Same thing like 4-hour chart. Look at this. How do you make sense of this? Nothing much, right? Downtrend, downtrend. Okay, and then form a little inverse head and shoulders, and it's making high. So pretty mixed bag. So I do like the daily. I do like the 4-hour. The weekly makes the most sense. Looks the most clear. So I'm basing my trade plans more on the weekly chart. Okay, so I hope if you understand price action, you understand why I say the daily and 4-hour is messy and nothing much can be read from there. Okay, you can I'm sure you can tell that why the weekly chart is much clearer in terms of the direction and how is it consolidating. Okay, so that's the DAX. Let's see any other thing. Let's go to Nikkei. Okay, Nikkei. Now, Nikkei is a very nice price action. I mentioned the Nikkei was in a downtrend since 2-3 webinars ago. It's just that it took time for it to come down. So the reason why I say it was a downtrend is because it made a significant lower low here compared to this low. So that's lower low. It made a lower high here compared to this high. It made another lower low here compared to this low here. And then it made another, and then we were at this lower high area, I remember 2 or 3 webinars ago. Okay, so series lower lows, lower high is a downtrend. And lower high at the resistance level at around 17,000, not surprising, it dropped. Okay, now I wouldn't want to do any more shorting. Reason because this area here compared to this area here, it might be a higher low. And a higher low might be a start of 2 things. Can anybody tell me? A higher low can be a start of 2 things. What are the 2? Anybody? So basically the market was downtrending, right? Okay, downtrending like that. And then now it's forming a higher low here. Yes, Lina, correct. Change of trend. Yes, Yo, correct. Uptrend or ranging. Perfect answers. So a higher low can signal a start of a new trend, which is uptrend, or it can signal a consolidation. Maybe it will come down, it will come down here, and then form a higher low, and then form another lower high, some form of consolidation like that. Okay, so 2 scenarios here, but a high low is a sign. So if I were to short, I would short it 2-3 webinars ago, which I mentioned on the yen. Okay, in terms of the higher low scenario, this is not a level I want to short. Okay, so you want to short at the highest probability area. In fact, any trade you take, you want the highest probability trade, because this level is no good. I mean, you can compare trading to a lot of casino games. I mean, a lot of good poker players are good traders because they understand the concept of probability. Okay, so if it's low probability, it's like if you play blackjack, right? You get a 16 or 17 and you go all in. Doesn't make sense, isn't it? But there's a low probability trade. Why would you want to do that? All right, so you need to find areas. So what I like to do is, if it's a downtrend, right? Let me just go a bit of theory for those who are new here, because I see quite a number of new faces, which is good. Thanks for coming. But if you are in a downtrend, okay, and you want to short, this is the worst level to short because this is potential support, for example. What you want is to retrace to a level of resistance, number 1, and you want to short at a lower high. Okay, because downtrend is lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? Okay, so you want a lower high and you want a resistance to increase your probability for the market to go further down. Okay, so if you look at, I showed this many times, but if you look at my cheat sheet, this is where I have it here. Okay, so basically if you're downtrend, you want to go for a lower high to short. You see, so consolidation, break or trend to downside, lower high short. This straightforward. This is the thing is a breakout. These are a few scenarios. The most of how the scenarios look like when it comes to short. Always look for lower highs. Long, same opposite, higher lows. Okay, so this can be a higher high, higher low, long, consolidation, breakout from higher low, long. This is a nice uptrend change, long, and breakout again. Okay, so you want to look for this kind of setups when you enter long short, just to give yourself the highest probability of winning. Okay, so if you look at the Nikkei, this is a potential higher low which I'm not that keen to short anymore. Okay, let's see what happens here for the weekly chart. And if you look at the MACD, right, for those of you that attend the webinars in the past, can you guys see a divergence? It's quite a oh sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. There's no divergence, it's a convergence, okay, because high low on the MACD and high low on the price, okay, but this is a potential high low area, so just be a bit mindful if you plan to short from here. So that's a weekly chart for you. Now looking at the daily chart, okay, the daily chart is clearly starting on a downtrend, alright, so this whole level of support was broken this week, okay, and you can see that it is start of a downtrend. Okay, it's start of a downtrend and we are retracing back to a resistance level, maybe back to somewhere here. Okay, now here's the question. On the daily chart, some of you might say, you see daily chart downtrend, why can't I short? Okay, why can't I short from here? Do you think it's a good level to short on the daily chart? What do you guys think? So I told you that daily chart is in a downtrend, right? It broke a previous low, so this is the next swing low. Okay, it's pulling back to this level of resistance here, somewhere here. Okay, so where we are right now, if you're going to tell me that this is a downtrend and it's pulling back, one area that you could take a short from is when it comes back to this level here. Okay, but be very, very mindful of the weekly chart, because remember the weekly chart, this whole swing is a potential what? Higher low. So if you're taking a trade to the downside on daily chart because it's a potential start of a downtrend, it is a decent trade, okay, at this level here, which I drew the arrow here. But because you, on the back of your mind, you know that the weekly chart is a potential higher low, you might want to take some profit or scale out of the trade here. In fact, if you see the market dropping here and start to consolidate and start moving a bit higher, I think it's best to get out. Okay, but this is a potential level to take a short based on the daily chart. Alright, so which trade you're planning based on which time frame is very, very, very important. Yep, so this is level to look up for. What's the level? Let me take away my drawing tool. Yes, Raju, in the sense wait for pullback. I would let it pull back higher to around the 16,000. Let me try to find that level. 16,003 or so. 16,300 or so. Okay, because the daily chart has made a change to the downside. It's only the weekly chart I'm a bit more concerned of a higher low scenario. There are two higher low and channel support scenario. Okay, so just be a bit careful. I mean, the nicest trades are when the weekly chart and daily charts are telling the same story. But it doesn't happen all the time, isn't it? Okay, so this one where the weekly and daily is telling a bit different stories, be a bit more careful. Yep, let's look at the 4-hour chart. Okay, nothing much to tell on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so that's the Nikkei for you. Let's go to, where else? Let's go to Hong Kong now. You guys got any indices? Just shout out, yeah? No, I'll move on fast and I can go on to FX. Okay, so Hong Kong, Hang Seng. What do you guys think? Uptrend, downtrend, or sideways? Okay, so if you study the swings, right? So this is a very significant lower low. This is lower high. Okay, this is another lower low. Okay, and this is another low high. Okay, so these are the significant levels that we are looking at. Right now, the Hang Seng, if you ask me, okay, we are stuck at this level of resistance around the 21,000, which we are unable to break. Which we are unable to break for the longest of time. Okay, 21,000. Between 21,000 and 20,000, this 1,000 points level, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5, 6 weeks in between. Okay, so until one of these levels breaks, there's not much direction for the longer term kind of trade in terms of the weekly chart. Okay, but short term might be. Okay, so let's go to lower time frame and see whether you can plan something. Lina said you see a flag on which time frame? Weekly, is it? Weekly time frame you see a flag. Is this what you're talking about, Lina? This is the flag from the top. You mean from the top here? No, this is not a very nice trend. I prefer, I mean the way I see it is more towards something like that. Something like that. Okay, so Francis, is there a divergence at MACD? Let's see, where's the divergence? Lower high, yep. Good spot, Francis. I missed that one. So Francis says that on the weekly chart, there's a potential divergence. And he's absolutely right. Okay, so divergence in the form of this whole swing to this whole swing is a lower high. This whole swing to this whole swing is a higher high. So it's a bearish divergence. Bearish divergence. Okay, so there's a chance that, okay, but even if it's a bearish divergence by Francis, it brings back to my point that the market is trapped between the near the 20,000 and 21,000. Okay, but if it breaks the 20,000 clearly, right, the support 20,000 clearly, then high chance that this divergence might play itself out, and I'm not surprised if it comes back down, or at least back to the middle of the channel around, or the flag around 19,000. Okay, yep, thanks for pointing out, Francis. I missed that one, but yep, this level 20,000 must break first. Okay, so looking at the daily chart, nothing much happening on daily. It just is consolidating sideways. All right, looking at the 4-hour chart, ugly, ugly, ugly. So this is what I call an ugly looking chart. Okay, really nothing much going on here. All right, so for such a chart where there's no nice defined clear levels, then I would take a high term time frame and base it on there. So the weekly is going to be my choice for the Hang Seng to see what gives next week or so. Okay, so again, 21,000 resistance, 20,000 support. There's a bit of the bearish divergence on weekly chart. If it breaks 20,000, high chance we might move to the bottom of the flag. That's a trade plan for Hang Seng. Okay, so also any other indices you guys have in mind before I move on to FX? So don't be too eager to find a trade. There's no trade. Okay, most of the indices are like that. I just couldn't find. In fact, for the past 1-2 weeks, I couldn't find anything on the indices to try to trade because it's just been very, very mixed. Okay, any other questions before I move on to FX? Okay, I'm going to take a 10-second pause and then I'll start the euro dollar.